One question on everyone's mind is how did this jury see the same videotape that the world saw and reach the conclusion that no crime was being committed? The jurors were quickly taken from the courthouse, but those who have talked about the verdict clearly believe that Rodney King dictated and controlled the police use of force.
And at some point, you have to look at that video and say, enough is enough. Stop.
More questions. Did the prosecution lose, or did the defense win? Would calling Rodney King to the stand have made the difference? Lead prosecutor Terry White says now that he never considered calling King to the stand.
Today, a new emotion was beginning to form on the faces on the streets of the city. And that was shame.
It's really bad, and I'm really disappointed. I was right there on the street screaming at all these people. Are you ashamed of yourself? What are you doing this?
Tell them, you know, please don't break the window. And they say, I don't care.
Latino businesses thought they were protecting themselves with signs that said, let's not destroy ourselves.
We so afraid and we so sad because these are our people. People from Central America, Mexico, everybody.
Latinos came to Los Angeles for hope and opportunity. Often they found discrimination. Today you could add anger.
I think it's 90% Mexicans. If I had it my way, I would shoot the looters.
One thing that you do find very hard to understand when you look at the pictures of the looting are the people you see, the children who are 7 and 8 years old, people in their 60s, people of all colors. Mothers brought their children with them for the looting. No business was exempt. Almost everyone suffered.
You can feel the heat all the way down here, and you're a block and a half away. I just don't see the point. Stole it all, man. They stole my stoves, my fixes, everything.
Jones says his business was spared because he has respect and a good relationship with the very people in the area who were rioting.
I was happy to see my place standing.
But all around Jones's store, other businesses, large and small, weren't so lucky. Fire after fire after fire kept breaking out all over the city, primarily in businesses, and businesses which probably will not be able to reestablish themselves once the riot is over.
You can see behind me, the building is engulfed in flames. There are no firefighters around anywhere. It's a situation that's on almost every block. The firefighters can't even begin to answer all the needs.
The fire department received more than 3,000 emergency calls by early this morning, but with hundreds of blazes, firefighters were a bit overwhelmed.
Number one, it's ridiculous what's going on. Number two, it's tough for us to do the job the way we're trained to do it because we're spread so thin.
Captain Kephart has been on the job since the riots began. He says there were very few victories as arsonists blackened the city. 36 teams of firefighters from cities around California were en route to help the county's 1,700 firefighters.
Now, Rodney King, the man whose police brutality case led to deadly riots in Los Angeles 20 years ago, is dead.
Of people being hauled from trucks and beaten, storekeepers holding off looters with weapons. LA was really on fire in those days, and in the last few months, as you say, Rodney King has been touring the country promoting his memoir, and in one of the interviews, as you can hear, he relates his situation to the recent case of the shooting death of Trayvon Martin.
Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel here. It's me here, Comrade Lavender here, and today I'm back with another anti-capitalism deep dive YouTube video topic. Today I want to do the pure evil files of Pure Evil, the Rodney King riots, and Latasha Harlins shooting files, capitalism and true crime deep dive. So let's get started on this YouTube video topic, but before we get started, all my YouTube videos that relate to this topic, other topics I've done that are related to this type of video that I'm making will be on the screen right now if you have to check them out. So let's get started on the YouTube video topic. In 1992, 4 Los Angeles policemen, 3 of them white, were acquitted of the savage beating and police brutality of Rodney King, an African-American man. Caught on camera by a bystander, graphic video of the attack was broadcasted into homes across the nation and worldwide. Fury over the acquittal, stoked by years of racial and economic inequality and tension in the city. spilled over into the streets, resulting in 5 days of rioting in Los Angeles. It ignited a national conversation about racial and economic disparity and police use of force that continues to this very day. When the verdict came out, it was a stunner for many people coast to coast. My jaw dropped, said Jody David Armour, a criminal justice and law professor at the University of Southern California. There was proof of what happened on video. It seemed compelling. He says the videotape, and yet we saw a verdict that told us we couldn't trust our lying eyes, that we thought were open and shut was really a reasonable expression of police control towards a black motorist. A year earlier, in March 1991, Rodney King, who was on parole for robbery, had led police on a high-speed chase throughout the Los Angeles city. Later, he was charged with drinking and driving under the influence. When police finally stopped him, Rodney King was ordered out of the car, and Los Angeles police departments then kicked and beat him repeatedly with batons for a reported 15 minutes. The video showed more than a dozen cops stood by watching and commenting on the beating. King's injuries resulted in skull fractures, broken bones, teeth, and permanent brain damage. Ultimately, 4 officers were charged with excessive use of force. A year later, on April 29, 1992, a jury consisting of 12 residents from the distant suburbs of Ventura County, 9 white, 1 Latino, 1 biracial, 1 Asian, found the 4 officers not guilty. Their acquittals were announced around 3 p.m. Less than 3 hours later, the civil unrest began and rioting began. Residents set fires, looted and destroyed liquor stores, grocery stores, retail shops, and fast food restaurants. People were pulled out of their cars and beaten. The reaction to the acquittal in South Central Los Angeles, now known as South Los Angeles, was particularly violent. At the time, more than half of the population there was black. Tension had already begun mounting in the neighborhood in the years leading up to the riots. The unemployment rate was about 50%. A drug epidemic was ravaging the area, and gang activity and violent crime were high in the area. Another contributing factor, the same month as Rodney King's beating, a Korean store owner named Soon Jae-do in South Los Angeles shot and killed 15-year-old African-American girl named Latasha Harlins.
Video of the 1991 beating of Rodney King by LAPD officers is infamous. But 2 weeks after this, there was a case that would also shake South Central LA to its core.
It was like Emmett Till. Everybody just ready to go to war. Everybody ready to fight.
Latasha Harlins was 15 when she was shot and killed by a liquor store owner, a Korean immigrant, who accused the teen of trying to steal a bottle of orange juice.
We grew up together. We only 4 months apart. So we grew up together in the same house all the way from birth till the day she passed away. So it's my sister.
Shanice Harlins Kilgore is Latasha's younger cousin.
You lived how far from this market?
Oh, roughly a half a block away.
And this would be normal to come here?
Normal to come here.
Here is now a numero uno market, but back in 1991 on Figueroa and 91st, it was Empire Liquor.
I can still see her right there where she dropped that in the front of the camera, you know, from the video. So, no, I don't go in there.
Security video captured a scuffle between clerk and customer. Soon Jae-do shot the teen in the back of the head, killing her. Witnesses said Harlins had cash in her hand.
To die with $2 in your hand, that lets you know that she was not that person that the media or whomever say so is what she is.
Du was convicted of voluntary manslaughter, but given probation. Then came April 29, 1992. The not guilty verdicts in the beating of Rodney King. 4 LAPD officers acquitted. Rioters took to the streets, and after years of cultural tensions, half the businesses burned or looted. 2,000 of them were Korean-owned.
This 15-year-old child who got her brains shot and blown out over a dispute over a bottle of orange juice was the precursor to the civil unrest in '92, after the jurors found the LAPD cops not guilty for beating Rodney King.
That was activist Najia Lee last year.
We will never forget Latasha Harlins.
It was at a playground dedication and a mural of Latasha Harlins at Elgin Sutton Recreation Center,
who was accused of trying to steal and shoplift orange juice. It was later discovered that she was clutching money to pay for the orange juice when she was unalived. The store owner, Dew, was convicted of voluntary manslaughter and received probation and a $500 fine. Soon, J. Dew testified that the shooting was in self-defense, and she believed her life was in danger. However, her testimony was contradicted by the statements of witnesses present at the time, as well as the store's security camera, which showed her shooting Harlins in the back of the head as she turned away from Dew and attempted to leave the store. The Los Angeles Police Department ballistics report also found that the handgun she used was altered in a way that it required much less pressure on the trigger to fire than an ordinary handgun. In July 1992, Latasha's brother and sister received a $300,000 settlement from a civil suit brought against Soon Ja Do, which was paid by the store's insurance policy. The incident heightened tensions between Koreans and African Americans and intensified the black community's frustration with the criminal justice system. At the same time, the community's anger was also deepening against the Los Angeles Police Department. In 1993, hip-hop artist Tupac Shakur released a song titled "Keep Your Head Up," which was dedicated to her. He made frequent mentions of her in later songs, including in tracks like "Something to Die For," "Interlude." Rapper Ice Cube composed a song about the incident for his album Death Certified titled Black Korea. African Americans said they did not feel protected during times in need, but instead reported being harassed without cause. The Los Angeles Police Department at the time was almost an occupying force, particularly biased against people of color, says lawyer and civil rights activist Connie Rice. What we had was aggressive pre-military policing with a culture that was mean and cruel, racist and abusive of force in communities of color, particularly poor communities of color. Rice says in an interview with NPR's Grigsby Bates, the city was not adequately prepared for the riots. In fact, there was no anticipation or an official plan put in place at the department for major social unrest. On the scale that it was, police did not respond to incidents of looting or violence around the city until almost 3 hours later, after the original rioting broke out. Just before 9 p.m. that night, Mayor Tom Bradley called for a state emergency, and California Governor Pete Wilson ordered 2,000 National Guard troops to report to the city. During the 5 days of unrest, there were more than 50 riot-related deaths, including 10 people who were shot and killed and unalived by the police department officers and National Guardsmen. More than 2,000 people were injured, and nearly 6,000 alleged looters and arsonists were arrested. Of those arrested during the riots, 36% were African American and 51% were Latinos, according to Rand Corp. The riots also disrupted daily life. A city curfew from sunset to sunrise was announced. Mail delivery stopped, and most residents couldn't go to work or school. More than 1,000 buildings were destroyed and damaged by fire, and approximately 2,000 Korean-run businesses were also damaged or destroyed. Many studies find a higher density of liquor stores in urban communities with predominantly black and/or low-income residents. Residents complain that liquor stores often provoke serious problems within communities. Of the businesses that were destroyed or damaged during the riots in South Central Los Angeles, 200 were liquor stores, and that's just the ones that burned. 500 liquor stores were untouched, making the total of 700 liquor stores and essentially one black community. There are hundreds of licensed liquor store owners in Washington, with more than a dozen license holders in just 4 blocks of Mount Pheasant. Clifford reported, added in the hundreds of stores permitted to sell wine and beer, and the district is right up there with South Central. There are more stores selling alcoholic beverages than there are schools in either of the district or South Central. There are more booze houses in each of them, recreate centers, and then both places combined. Each has more than liquor stores in one black community than you'll find in the entire state of New Jersey. Black youth exposed to more alcohol advertising study finds. African American youth culture is steeped in alcohol. References to booze, liquor, and alcohol have long been rife in the rap music entertainment industry. and celebrities such as Jay-Z and P. Diddy Combs and Ludacris are among the hip-hop people who have promoted the alcohol industry. A new study puts some fresh data behind the long-standing concerns about alcohol marketing to black children. Young African-American kids ages 12 to 20 see far more alcohol ads on television and in magazines than youth in general, according to the report published Thursday by the Center of Alcohol Marketing and Youth at the Johns Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health. Researchers said that two key factors are at play. Many alcohol ads specifically target African Americans, and African American youth consume more media than youth overall. For example, African American youth watched 53% more television than youth in general in 2010, according to the Nielsen data cited in the study. Despite the study's findings, young black teens drink less than youth of other racial and ethnic groups. Researchers say this may link to factors such as poverty, social norms, and religion that temper some of the advertising impacts, but African Americans who drink seem to suffer more serious consequences, said David Jurgen, director of the Center of Alcohol Marketing and Youth. Perhaps they tend to have less access to health care and substance abuse treatment, live in poorer neighborhoods, and are incarcerated more frequently. Alcohol consumption is linked to 3 leading causes of death among African Americans. And, there's rationale for being extra careful, said Jargon, whose group receives funds from the Centers of Disease Control and Prevention, has put out dozens of reports on alcohol marketing to youth over the last decade. Marketers' messages are increasingly reinforced by hip-hop culture. Researchers at the University of California, Berkeley, reported last year an analysis of rap lyrics showed that 64% of the most popular songs released from 2002 to 2005 referenced alcohol and booze. This marked a steep rise. An earlier analysis of rap songs from 1994 to 1997 showed 44% contained alcohol references. Booze ads are also common in magazines read by black African Americans. The new study suggests marketers are falling short on limiting youth exposure to alcohol ads. Young black African Americans saw 32% more booze ads in magazines and 17% more on television than youth overall in 2009, researchers found, while African American youth were exposed to 26% fewer radio ads for alcohol than youth in general. They heard 32% more radio ads for hard liquor. In magazines, African American youth were 92% more likely to see ads for Ollipops, cheap, sweet, fizzy alcohol drinks that are particularly concerned to advocates because they appealed to young youth. While advertisers say they can't keep youth from seeing the messages that are intended for adults, Jurgen isn't buying it. The industry knows quite precisely what they are doing. The alcohol industry wants to make money the way that Big Tobacco is grooming children to be replacement smokers, and P. Diddy is trying to trash their image that could affect their capitalism profits. In all, approximately $1 billion worth of property was destroyed. The Rodney King beating and the Los Angeles riots exploded out of social issues that still have not been resolved to this very day. That shocking, grainy video of his beating would be just the first of a long line of police brutality incidents caught on video that go viral. After the civil trial, Rodney King was awarded a settlement. He bought a modest house for his mother and one for himself in the LA suburb of Rioting, and occasionally spoke with at-risk kids at the request of local police. King, the son of an alcoholic father, continued to struggle with his own alcohol addiction after his beating. He told NPR in April 2012 that his sobriety was a work in progress. He was engaged to be married when he passed away that June. A skilled swimmer and surfer, Rodney King was found unconscious at the bottom of a swimming pool. His autopsy reported drugs and alcohol were in his system at the time of his passing.